I'm the last speaker, and I hope the buzzer doesn't go off. I won't waste any time. Uh, what I realize is that all architects talking about nature, and you really want to get into nature. And for me, also, when I started practicing, it was in the urban environment in Kathmandu, and I did my architecture in School of Planning and Architecture in New Delhi. But after coming to Nepal, I worked in the valley, but the real change came to me when I went into nature and really went into nature. So I've titled my presentation Spirit of Design in Nepal, because Nepal is really about a soul or some authentic sensitivity of how you connect the spiritual quest up in the mountains. This is a project that I've been working for the last 8 years. It's been a very tough journey, but I'll tell you more about it. It's in a place called Manang, and it's really in the heart of the Manang Valley. So I give you a little background of the context of the mountains, the landscape, and the resources that are all around, the culture and heritage that kind of spells out in these places, the sacredness the Himalayas have, and the connectivity that is slowly now, because the Himalayas kind of divide China and India, which are poles apart in the way it's governed, in the way it's growing. But Nepal is like the cheese sandwich that is kind of there, but still the way we kind of understand what is the real authentic nature of Nepal is very important. So this is Nepal. We just had a presentation called Everest earlier to me, but the real Everest is this. This is the Himalayas, this is the mountains. And I've done a small project there, which is the red line, at the bottom. And, the more I've been doing projects in the mountain, the more my professional focus is blurred. And I think as an architect, you're trying to express, your building and your space, but, all that dissolves when you go for a trek, when you are out of breath, when you start seeing a landscape like this, you really understand natural materials as a vocabulary, which, many of you are trying to present. This is a place called Dingboche on the Everest Trail. And, when I look at this picture and when I see this village, the identity of Nepal is not just Kathmandu. Many of you may have visited. But when you go out into nature and when you see this precious inheritance that we have, you really start understanding that there is a certain responsibility we have, and we look at it as a gift. But the way urbanization happened, the way the industries are going, it's almost like a burden. If you had a housing that is kind of, 6-7 stories in this place, it would lose the charm of the Himalayas. So last year I spent almost 3 months above the Everest base camp. I was with a team that was climbing Everest, but I literally went there to just suffer and see what is it that yogis go up and find over there. And there's actually really nothing. It's just a beautiful landscape. It's very cold. It's very difficult to breathe. But, when you're out of breath, there is a certain connection of what you feel is really required. Is it less or is it more? You start making these strong connections. So I'll really give you a visual kind of feel of Nepal, my country, which is between China and India. And these oranges are the few places that I've been working on. They're all linked by religion, culture, history, and the Himalayas. It's influenced by the Tibetan plateau. And also it's very strategically placed because earlier from Nepal, there used to be a trade route to Tibet, and there used to be a lot of import-export, not just in terms of materialistically, but in terms of philosophy, in terms of meditation, a lot of things. So these stretches are very rugged, very difficult places to survive, very barren. And, but yet you find the built structure is really trying to fuse with the landscape. It's trying to embrace the mountains in a certain way. It may be not in perfection, but within the imperfection, you kind of see way people are trying to build and try to connect with the landscape. It's very difficult, very rugged. The people in the mountains have a certain kind of connection with, I would say the natural elements like the sky. This little painting reminded me of a Van Gogh painting where, when you are in these barren landscape and you look at the sky, like a Van Gogh painting, you feel as if the sky is coming out. There is a certain cosmic energy that is there. The sacredness of the mountains is that, you see Grand Canyon-like features, but you see the Himalayas, which is not there in Grand Canyon. And this connection or disconnection from reality, where it's a very surreal experience of looking at natural materials that are very isolated, but what we are really trying to do is get an authentic feel of, what we talked about layers. There are many layers we all have, but the real inner layer is really empty. And the tangible heritage that we see up in the mountains, whether it's a little chorten or a stupa, and the intangible heritage that you experience in terms of the culture that exists kind of resonates with people that are really trying to find what is very authentic. But yet, like any urban place, there is a certain evolution that happens and modernization creeps in. And this one image is a reflection of a monk looking at these plateaus that exist up there and wondering, as architects and interior designer, what are we going to do that? So my question is, we really have a challenge how to protect the sacredness of this place. The connectivity, I told you that between China and India, there's already a big road that's called the Trans-Himalayan connectivity that's being built. And soon you're going to be, there's a road already up in the Manang, Mustang area. These highways are being built presently. But the challenge is that you have a trekker who's trying to walk, and you have a motorcycle and cars that are going by, and it's very difficult to trek when there's a lot of dust. But yet, as people, as citizens, we want to go and explore everywhere. We want to build these difficult roads that go. And the resources that are really there in Nepal, I would say, is the Himalayas and the lakes and, all these culture that exists, that is sprinkled all around. There are these caves that I've been to where, it was built many thousands of years back, but people used to meditate in this place. And coincidentally, during the China-India war, these places were used to hide ammunition. And it's very surreal that you find a place where, as if there's nothing happening, but it's so strategically located, like Kailash and the whole Himalayan belt, that India and China continuously are looking at it very deeply. What can they do? How can they connect or bridge, the problem that exists? So these are the three places that I'll elaborate a little bit about Brakka, where I've been doing a project. And, as you walk along the rivers, you find these fossils. It's called shaligram. These are thousands of years old. And, once upon a time, the Himalayas were under the sea. The Tibetan plateau and the Indian, plateau, they kind of collide, as we all know in history. But when you walk around, I have collected a few of these shaligrams that I feel are, Nepal is a living museum. Politically, we've had a lot of problem with the Maoist war, and there's been a lot of migration due to the conflict. And that is the case with, a place which is very cold and which is very high and dry. So the challenges that I feel in Nepal are the quest to modernity. When you have industrialization happening in sacred places, then we lose its charm. There are settlements that are growing, and people are building up there with concrete, but in a kind of local tone. But there are also good examples in the Himalayas, like what's happening in Ladakh, with Sonam Wangchuk trying to build the Semikol school and university. And the way I think Bhutan is also progressing of keeping happiness as an index to kind of showcase the architecture or the way urbanization happens, but in a way that is very human. So linking vernacular traditions with technology is a very important aspect. As much as we try to build, we should have an idea of where we are building. So I'll probably just show you one or two projects that I've been working on. This is a settlement in the Manang Valley. It's called Brakka. It's almost like a painting. This is a photograph. But, like when I was in school, in KG, when we used to send letters home, we drew a mountain and a river. It just feels like that, as if, the river, which is from a glacier lake right on top, flowing down. So I had a person come to my office and said that he wanted to build a new hotel in this green patch. And then we took a walk around and we saw, this beautiful place. And I asked him, what is happening to this place? So what really is happening to this place is that it's an abandoned village where people have left it and migrated to Hong Kong and everywhere else. So then I got a conversation going with him saying that, why don't we take up these old houses and instead do a resort or a hotel there? And he said, it's very difficult. I said, that's the whole challenge. It's very easy to spoil this green space and build a new hotel. But if you kind of take up this space, I will not charge you. That was my carrot. But I will be part of the project, in terms of the future. So 8 years, I haven't got paid because I'm a shareholder. But the beauty of it is that we've used all the materials that existed in the site. We studied the local vocabulary. It was an excuse for me to go to the mountains more and really do a project slowly, but understand what is it at the end that we do. So the project that is coming up is that there's a 500-year-old monastery, and this little house is kind of hugging the hill. And I think architecture up in the mountains should be something that, like in urban area, we want to stand out. We want to do what someone else isn't doing. But over there is really about blending in, trying to connect and minimizing you jutting out, but being part of the landscape. And simple materials are what makes a project sustainable. At the end of the day, we as architects are the biggest polluters. I'm sorry to say this, but when you take resources from one place and transplant it in another place, in a way you're wounding the earth. So when I look at these simple architecture that exists around, and it's the way that you collect wood, you dry it, you put a little color in the window, it's simple solutions. But villages which are next to the river, they can do farming. And you have a small community that kind of grows. And I think sustainability really comes about with this knowledge of kind of living a life close to nature. As you go along for a trek, you see these little chortens, and the spiritualness of the place really comes out. Next to the river, people have left it so that the land, which is very fertile, they want to grow buckwheat, they want to grow the berries, they want their horses and cattle to graze. But in the city, the river area has become smaller and smaller, and the fertility of the land is lost. So what we really see in Nepal is that, people, the older people, they kind of had a sense of place. They built, like that resort was built next to the cliff because it protected from the harsh winds. And they left the place next to the river to really have the fertility of the land with agriculture. So in conclusion, I'd say that any place, especially in the Himalayas and the mountain, it's about the priorities people have. Like here we have of square foot, how much you want to kind of earn from it. And up in the mountains, it's really the spiritual quest. If you all come to Nepal, you'll forget your business. You'll start taking deeper breaths and your health changes. This is a place next to a little cave where Milarepa meditated. And I think these are certain values which I feel in future would be more valuable than architecture. When I trekked up to this lake called Tilichu Lake, it's one of the highest lake, and just kind of slept there and heard the sound of the snow melting in this lake, you get a connection with life in a very deep sense. And there are places where I've written a little poetry which I wanted to share, is that you forget yourself. We all have places where there is no memory of the past or future. Complete presence and present. These are your sacred energy places, and I think we should cherish these. So for the concept in these places, I really feel that more than the materialistic nature, you got to look at spirituality, you got to look at environment, and how do you address this in terms of sustainability is a changing target, because you have new products coming in which are more efficient, for example, the solar kind of business of it, but then when you overdo even a good thing, it becomes, it becomes challenging. So I will just skip all these projects and I'll maybe show you, these are some of the projects that I've done, but I won't elaborate. I'll just show you a video to really, this was the Tenzing Norgay Heritage Center which we completed, but it has a beautiful auditorium, but since we are running out of time, I'd like to respect that and conclude by saying that the Himalayas are really the living landscape museum that we have. And there needs to be institutions that make us understand the value of these spaces. Otherwise, once it's urbanized, we will lose its charm. So we need to build compactly. We need to preserve the sacred values and the authentic nature of it. And this last slide, since I'm speaking, I'd like you to get a feel of these places. Play it? Yeah. No. The video, can you press the video? Play. Yeah. Press the video, like. Thank you very much. I think I would like to welcome you all to Nepal. Come and experience, the cold snows. And yes, the mountains are there. It's not easy for everyone to go high up, but still from low down you can experience it. And the human body can only do so much, but the heart and spirit takes over. And that's what happens in the mountains. I climbed a peak called Island Peak. So I wanted to share this video. Can you play this also? Yeah. Because
finally at the top of Island Peak. Feel very good, and thank you very much, Migma Sherpa.
So there are all these
without Sherpas, no mountains
all around you.
You're
and
a man.
The real disconnection from the urban area happens when you're on a mountain, and it's like a drug. Once you're there, you forget, all the urban. So that's Everest on the side of the same range. So we walked almost 16 hours, uphill. We start at 12:30 at night. I know I'm not talking architecture, but just giving you a feel of the place. And you summit at 10:40 in the morning, because during the night there is no wind. And it's dark, but you have your headlight. But when we returned, it was like 6 in the evening. So you're all tired. And that's where I say that you forget yourself. and you connect to deeper values, and when you see the urban mess, you feel, you need to be true to what you have felt, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.